Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Donna. Next is John Mistel. Name and address, please.
John Mistall, 10 Gregory Road in West Shore. I'd like to thank the council, Mayor Boer, for taking the time to listen to all the people. There is concern, somebody like me and my wife, we live on Social Security. That's 2% we received. The state of Connecticut wants us to stay, yet increases like this may have us reconsidering whether or not we can afford to. Things that should be looked into, maybe drops in the bucket, but the more drops you put in the bucket, the fuller it gets, and eventually it runs over. Things such like page 15 of the budget, there's a sizable increase in the expenses for city council, mayor's office, labor relations, to the tune of 11%. There's really no explanation for that. Yet the projected expenses are less than the budgeted for last year. Is there room to cut this? Page 16, under Public Works Administration, there's a request for $400,000, or a 44% increase. That cannot be attributed to bringing in a new, the new Public Works Director, okay? That's a $10,000 or $20,000 increase. On page 20, there's an increase for the mayor's office of 9.2 and the personnel office for 7.66, okay? Is there room to cut this? And what exactly does this cover? Page 24, sewer use is calculated, and under the fees, it shows that it's $2, yet the actual expense was $1. The projection or the request was for $25,000, and the budget recommendation for next year is $77,000. Okay, that's 2/3 of an increase in the amount. Okay, and that was a recommendation by the WPCC was $25,000. Page 26, there's a 17.65 increase for the city clerk, clerk of the city council. That's also a sizable increase. And this person received an increase 2 years ago, and the request was not, this raise was not requested, but was given by the mayor's office. Page 27, that's my understanding. Page 27, there was a recommendation for an increase of 27.2% for part-time elected, with no explanation of what a part-time elected is. And again, my understanding is that was recommendation by the mayor's office. Page 28 shows a significant increase for the executive secretary, and it is said to be funded by the elimination of the purchasing administrative assistant. Do we no longer have that assistant? If not, should that salary be saved salary? This is an exorbitant bump in pay, okay, when we're considering most people are getting 2 to 3%. In 2024, the salary was approved for $44,436. The salary was approved then for $45,326, and in 2025, and now it is being asked $68,000. That's well above the 3%. On page 29, there is an increase of $1,000 in travel expenses. Exactly as Donna asked, what is this for the use of city vehicles? Page 34, has a very large increase in the personnel director of 17.23%. Okay, well above the 2.3, or 2.5, or 3%. Page 38, for the part-time administrative assistant, it shows in the fiscal year 2020 adopted amount of $30,750. I'm sorry, $30,750, with a recommendation for 2026 of $31,365. But there's no adopted budget or expense for 2025 on page 39. It does not appear in regular wages, but not in part-time 2025. What position was vacant? Page 38, the clerk is requesting a $1,000 raise in salary, yet the mayor is recommending $3,600. Again, we're well over the expectation of that person, and we're well over the 2.5 or 3%. On page 58, shows a significant increase of the assessment. Again, the decent size bump would be considerable. My experience for West Haven has been very responsible. When there's a reassessment, the reassessment goes in, comes down, and then there's a modest increase, usually about $500 or $600, $700. Okay. A lot of people are looking at anywhere from $12,000 to maybe $3,000, depending on the market value of the house. And I understand that it has not been set, the mill rate has not been set yet. Okay? But that's something to consider. And then there was an increase of 18.42 in the salary of the tax collector, who is an elected position. Again, what is the justification for such a large increase? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John, for your comments. Next up is Leslie Dunn.
Hi, Leslie Dunn, 108 Richard Street. On page 62, there's an increase for dispatcher. It reflects $5,086 increase per dispatcher. Is this contractual or can it be reduced? On page 72, what exactly is a special projects part-time position? How many hours is that position? If it's a 32-hour-a-week position, then the hourly rate is $27.64. Judging by what the role is, it sounds like the duties of a position the city already has. On page 72 and 73, there's confusion. Under Public Works Administration breakdown on the page, it has regular wages at $638,098 and part-time wages as $12,000. Yet there are 3 part-time positions on the 2026 budget. Is that $12,000 total, or is this a mistake? Page 77 shows a large amount of overtime. Wouldn't it be prudent to add a part-time position at straight time instead of so much overtime? Page 82 shows a drop from 17 to 16 full-time employees, but only a reduction of $32,000. On the position of park maintenance driver was added, making $67,000. Is this the same employee just being moved to a different position? And if so, why the difference in the net amount? Page 118 shows the adopted 2025 budget salary for one captain at $355,712, but for fiscal year 2026, it's increasing to 4 captains at the same salary. Is this a typo? Additionally, there's no mention or line item budgeted for the deputy fire chief that is expected to be hired soon. And on a different note, I was a paraeducator at Savin Rock. I worked with several of the educators here this evening. They're wonderful, caring people. They spend a lot of their own money on things for their classroom and also never hesitate to donate items, money, and their time for students in need. I wish the increased request had not been reduced, but I hope you pass the 1.8 million for the Board of Education. They really need it and they really deserve it.
Thank you, Leslie. Next up is Douglas Dunn.
Hi, my wife and John covered it all. Sounds good?
Beverly Garrettson.
Hi, I'm Beverly Garrettson, 200 Second Avenue, West Haven. Thank you, Mayor Bohr and West Haven Council, for this opportunity. Many of our members from the Sandy Point Neighborhood Association have sat in with the Water Pollution Control Commission. We have had open discussions related to the conditions at the plant and the scope of the work that needs to be done. I am here to support the proposed budget related to the facility. It is imperative that we invest in the necessary upgrades for the sewer, our clean water, our regulatory requirements, and the health of our residents. Upgrades to the sewer plant have been neglected for several years, leaving investments to the infrastructure now in a critical junction. I relate to this in a sense. Recently, I had to replace within my basement of my 100-year-old home about 20 feet of sewer line. This was in the basement. It wasn't out on the street. And it cost me about $3,000. And, you know, that's money that I would love to take a trip on, you know, get some work done on my car. And, you know, it had to be done. It's one of those things that had to be done. So sitting in that meeting, listening to the problems that are going on within that plant, I totally understand the practical need to address it, seriously address it, because it's such a critical, underappreciated facility. And I really have enjoyed our conversations with the commission there at the plant, because they're a very dedicated group in a kind of a funky kind of situation. So anyway, I thank you for the opportunity to share my
Paige Weinstein.
Good evening. Paige Weinstein, 20 Platt Avenue. In the proposed budget, West Haven is confronting several long-standing challenges. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Particularly the deferred maintenance of critical infrastructure, which now requires urgent attention and significant financial investment. For several years, many city employees have faced wage freezes. During that period, their health insurance contributions have increased, and those that live in town have experienced rising property taxes. These employees deserve, at the very least, the proposed wage increase. A significant portion of West Haven's real estate, over half, is exempt from property taxes, which place a significant financial burden on property owners. To address this problem, it is essential to attract new businesses and expand the city tax base. We should recognize the efforts of the current administration in taking steps towards this goal. Notably, last month's Moody's upgrade West Haven's general obligation bond rating, and S&P Global maintained the city's long-term credit rating of A- with a positive outlook. These improvements enhance the city's financial standing and make West Haven more appealing to potential businesses. More businesses will ultimately help to reduce the tax burden on the residents. In my view, a 2.6 increase in the budget is a reasonable and responsible approach to addressing some of the city's urgent needs. While I would have preferred a lower increase, as both my residential and business properties are facing higher taxes, I understand that need. The increase in property values is a result of the state-mandated reevaluation process under Public Act 22.74, which in this case was implemented at the 4-year mark instead of the 5. We can attribute this change to decisions made by our politicians in Hartford, not our administration in West Haven. With that said, it is crucial for the West Shore and Center Fire Districts to consider reducing their mill rate following the Allentown Fire District's recent reduction of 2.89 mil. As the budget now stands before you, the City Council, I believe you also need to look beyond the numbers and, for example, reassess the qualifications for seniors and veterans tax relief programs to improve accessibility. Specifically, the 20-year residency requirement for senior tax-free seems excessive. It might also be worthwhile to consider extending a tax benefit to other groups as well. I do believe that the decision made in this budget aimed to establish the financial responsibility that West Haven has neglected for too long, and while making West Haven a better place for all of us to live. Achieving financial stability is essential to regaining independence from the Municipal Accountability Review Board. Though this process will be challenging and likely burden taxpayers in the short term, it is necessary for securing a more stable financial future for our city. Progress is happening. My final point, this budget does not address all of the city needs. West Haven continues to fail with offering competitive wages for police officers. Additionally, the pension plan approved by the City Council is still pending litigation due to the involvement of the MARB. Resolving this issue is vital to the city's continued progress. Resolving the fact that we have not offered competitive wages is necessary for the progress to continue. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Paige, for your comments. Ashley Lowe?
Ashley Lowe, 34 Rockefeller Ave, West Shore District. Dear Mayor Boer and City Council members, thank you for allowing me to provide input tonight regarding the city budget. Let me start off by saying, unfortunately, we have always paid high taxes in West Haven. But when you start to see those tax dollars at work, it's a little more acceptable to pay. I finally feel like in West Haven, we are getting something in return for these high taxes. Overall, I am really pleased with the direction the city is going in, and everywhere I turn, I see progress. I recognize the work that all of you are putting in, as it takes a large team to get results. From advocating for more money to working to get us out of state oversight, projects getting off the ground, new businesses on the horizon, and making investments that are long overdue. I can take some comfort in knowing this is an honest budget. Everywhere I turn, I see Mayor Boer. You have only been in office for a little over a year and have done more with our tax money than I have seen in many, many years. That is why I have more trust in this budget than before. I believe you are working on our behalf, doing what you said you would do, and most importantly, prioritizing critical services for our families, especially our children, who will benefit for years to come from a big change in our city. It's a city I want my children to grow up in and thrive in. Do I want to pay higher taxes? Absolutely not. But at the same time, I can't have my home value increase substantially, ask for better services, and expect to be at a flat cost. That's unrealistic. Right now, I am very satisfied with our elected officials, from the Board of Education members to the council members, and especially in our mayor. I see more trust and professionalism. I just ask that the council, that as you are making your decisions, please remember that even though we may have significant strides this year, that we still have a long way to go in West Haven. Any more cuts will leave us with higher taxes and limited services just like before. Please be thoughtful of our future, especially in our children, by investing in today.
Thank you, Ashley. Tom Ciarappa?
First of all, I want to give my gratitude to you guys because this is, I had hair before I started looking at the budget. I never realized how in-depth it is. Tom Scrappa, 327 Washington Avenue, West Haven, Connecticut. I wrote down a couple of things because I forget. I'm getting older now. First thing, I've been here 40 years. I've seen a lot of ups in West Haven. I've seen a lot of downs. I think a lot of Westies have seen the COVID issues, the missing money, the MARB 4 issues, the missed audit deadline issues, the poor management and leadership issues, unfinished projects, that's a big one in my heart, issues, the sewage issues. And then I saw you guys and them. And a light came on because whatever you're doing, I know some people don't see it because in our lives we move so fast that we don't see it. There's a difference in West Haven right now. And I'm going to tell. I looked at the Moody and Standard & Poor's rating that we went up in. We haven't given an on-time audit in 2 years. Where I worked, not only would I be fired, everybody that worked for me be fired. But we did it. So now, what they said is we have a proactive, not reactive, positive strategy in the city of West Haven government. That's you guys, right here. I know a lot of people don't tell you that, because I know that your job is not easy, because you get a lot of maniacs like me that don't want to hear no for an answer or something like that. I'm in favor of the budget because of a couple things. I took a drive up Campbell Avenue. I remember for the past, I gotta say 20 years, could be 10, but I'll say 20, there was boarded up windows on Campbell Avenue, the main street in my city. I counted myself 10 new businesses since you guys have been up here. 10, just on Campbell Avenue. How about Quality Inn? This is not Campbell now, this is the rest. How about Quality Inn? Ace Reynolds, Chick-fil-A, the Super 7-Eleven up near Walmart. How about La Anton, I have trouble with that. That one right across from the City Hall in Silvers. That was vacant for 7 years or something like that, right? Appliance Boulevard store, Crash Champion Auto Body, the new Hartford Health site, Enterprise Rentals, Ace Rental Cars, Spice Venue at UNH, the new Starbucks, Prego Markets. That's just to name a few because we're running so fast. All we see is the bad stuff. We don't see the good stuff. You think I like paying high taxes? No. But I'll tell you what, I don't remember the last time I really wanted to move out of West Haven. Maybe when I got that ticket with it. No. Okay, so now I sort of cut through my thing, but I wanted to make it as quick as I could for you people. The new slogan we have, miles of shore and so much more. We have 25% of Connecticut beachfront. We have it. We got to capitalize on it, and I know she is. Like, for instance, the Kelsey Restaurant. Thank God, all right? All the stuff, have you guys gone by the road that got raised 15 feet? Beach Ave, I think they call it? Beach Street, I'm sorry. Beach Street, 15 feet, you know? And then I said, no, I don't believe it's 15 feet. So I walked off the side, it's 15 feet. But with all that being said, have you seen the construction down there? I'm in awe. Every time I go by, there's more buildings. So we're doing the right things, but it costs. It's not cheap to live in West Haven. If you want to live in Moodus, go ahead. I think they got a couple houses for sale up there now. You know, but anyway. So speaking of schools. I remember when we went here, it was a little box. This is like a campus for crying out loud. So we're going to get this for free? I don't think so. How about Washington Magnet School? They're just about done. I see it every day. It's in my backyard, and I'm just in awe. I didn't believe it was going to look that nice. You don't get that for free. It's what it is. Speaking of schools, Stiles, I'm glad you sold that. Thank you very much. Thompson, is they're putting windows in it now. It's getting close, condos and apartments. That's gonna be money for us. Let's see, Malloy Road. For veterans and seniors, thank you very much. Long-needed senior center. These things didn't happen by accident. It took hard work. Anytime I always go to any function, anywhere, most of you people are there. You're always there, you two are always there. It ain't easy, all right? Let's see. I wanted to get this two last comments in. Speaking of making it happen, in my opinion, 40 years in West Haven, I think we have the best police department, the best fire departments, the best public works and maintenance department. In the old days, I used to call in a problem. I would call it in. Maybe I got an answer. Maybe I didn't. Now, if you call in something to the police department, the fire department, the public works department, not only do they call you back, they call you back to see how your response was. Here's me. Who's this? I'm like, what? So it's working. Whatever you guys are doing, it's changing the whole attitude of West Haven. In summation, budgets aren't always easy. I know somebody's got to tote the line, somebody's got to carry the bale, right? But I think with the team we got here, with truth and transparency, I listened to some of the people with the point for point. I was never a point for point guy, but they make some good points. So we got to look at them, but to me, I think it's a solid budget. I say go. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Tom. Next up is Catherine Bushman.
That went fast. Good evening. Catherine Bushman, 300 Elm Street. Good evening, Mayor Bohr and City Council. This is a statement from Director Colleen Bailey at West Haven Public Library. We are here today to support the mayor's proposed fiscal year 26 budget, and most notably, the library's budget. I want to thank the mayor and the finance director for taking the time to discuss the library's budget last month. The library is a mere 1% of the city's total budget, with that funding providing a myriad of resources from books and DVDs, access to computers and Wi-Fi, and many programs and spaces to learn and study. I deeply appreciate the mayor's commitment to seeing our libraries properly funded, which has not been the case in recent years. The library has been used as both warming and cooling centers, and last year hosted 690 programs throughout the year that were both educational and entertaining, such as book clubs and informational sessions on Medicare, along with hosting and collaborating with several organizations in town, including West Haven Community House, Adult Education, the Senior Center, the VA Hospital, and Arts West, to name a few. The library offers programs for assisting with technology, such as our Digital Navigator program, where residents can sign up for technology assistance and walk out after 3 sessions with a long-term loan of a laptop. West Haven has an internet connectivity rate of 1 in 5, meaning 1 in 5 residents do not have internet access in their home. The library is where those residents go for the internet access. Last year, we had 29,937 Wi-Fi connections to our network, a 19% increase from the year prior, 12,072 sessions in our 32 public computers. The library continues to be a third space that you can go to for whatever you need, whether it's a place to sit and work or do nothing. Attend programs such as a story time with your child, or pick up a book, DVD, or museum pass, or a need for safe space. Last year, the library had 123,211 visits, an increase of 8% from the previous year, and our 3rd year in a row of increased traffic. The library is so much more than just a place that houses books and we deeply appreciate the support of City Council and the Mayor for our fiscal year 26 budget, which will allow the West Haven Public Library to continue to provide the programs and assistance that West Haven residents need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine. Next up is Americo Herrera.
Good evening to everyone. Oh, by the way, my name is Americo Ferreira. I live in 30 Enfield Street.
Thank you.
And, well, I will talk about I live not far from the UNH, and I hear that the university doesn't pay taxes. So I want now why, the reason, because I believe they make profit like another business. And if they pay their portion, the residents, they can have even a small break, you know. So I understand why. So I asked the city council or mayor, you know, to think about this kind of issue, you know, and they try to get to force them to pay taxes because they use our city, they use streets, they use our facilities, everything, you know. I don't see any reason why they don't pay. I believe they make good profit because, you see, they spend, every year they spend more and more. They absorb already a big chunk of the city, you know. And I see they use those, the streets are packed with the cars. I believe they don't have enough parking. And also, not just the UNH, also the Yale West Campus, former Bayer Pharmaceutical. I assume they don't pay taxes either, so I assume they should pay too, you know. Because it's like they used to say, nobody's above the law, or nobody's above the, you know, the taxes, you know. So in my opinion, they should pay. Same like every resident, you know, and makes sense, you know. In my opinion, it makes sense. Even the church. The church is a mega church on Miller Road. I don't know. I hear them, they don't pay any taxes, but they should pay also. Anyway, so I asked the city council or mayor, you know, to think about, or if possible, to make them pay something. You know. All right, I think it's all for now. Absolutely, some more things to talk about, but I don't want to stay too long, you know, so I gotta give a chance to somebody else. All right, thank you very much for your attention.
Comments, Americo. Next up is Maribeth Schultz. No? Okay. We have Bob Witkowski.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, fellow citizens of West Haven.
Name and address, please.
Robert Witkowski, 93 Dalton Street.
Thank you.
I've seen other budgets with a lot more information than this, and I understand, and I've seen it online. There's a lot more detail and a lot more farce. The increases on the assessments, the mill rate is not enough to lower it enough. I'm still gonna pay about $800 more. And a year. And that's a large increase. And this has happened before. This happened about a decade ago. And I'm also here with, your next speaker would be Theodora Andrews at 139 South Street. And she's been sitting and waiting all this time. It's going to be hard for her to get up, so she'll want me to speak. Her husband just passed away this year, okay? And she's 72 years old. And you got this tax abatement thing that to freeze their taxes, but she doesn't qualify. She's on a low income, she's on a fixed income, and she's 72 years old. But she finished her work in New Jersey before she moved here. Her husband's been here all his life, okay? But she stayed and finished her time on her job in New Jersey and then moved to residence here 8 years ago. So she doesn't have the 20 years as a resident. So she don't qualify for that tax help. And she just lost part of her income because her husband passed away. 72 years old, on a fixed income. Her husband paid taxes all his life here, and yet she don't qualify because she's not been a resident. Yeah. The city should be ashamed of itself to get so greedy because the assessments came out early, and to lower the mill rate not enough, and you knew it's not enough. Any council member that votes for this should resign, should just step down. It's a shame that you're trying to rip off the residents this way. It's time to stand up and face the truth. I sat here for over an hour listening to all these speakers who are all part of the staff, part of the union, part of the party, all friends and family of what's happening here. It's shameful. It really is that you really don't get the word out to the real public, because if they did, they'd all be here. But you make sure it's in the West Haven Voice, something that nobody really looks at. Only maybe 5,000 people out of 55,000 people. I'm not going to go over every line item that they did because they covered everything I was going to cover. Some of these people. 5% increase, that's crazy. Nobody gets a 5% increase. Nobody. At your regular job, you're lucky if you get a 1.5. And these people get 2.5, 3%, and 5%. It's disgusting. You're taking advantage of the taxpayers. And you think they're stupid, but if they actually got this information, they'd be down here. But you're playing them for stupid. Any council member that votes for this should resign. Step down, because you're not working for your constituents. And Mr. Mack, on the 5th District, the next time you get up and say the Pledge of Allegiance, you remove your hat and respect your country. You do not deserve to be up there. Thank you very much, West Haven.
Comments, Bob. Our last speaker is Jordan Wycinski. I apologize if I said the last name.
Everybody say goodnight to y'all.
Good evening. Hi.
May Name and address, please.
How are you? My name is Jordan Wolotinsky. I'm at 94 Prospect Avenue.
Thank you.
Thank you for all of your work. I have a question in regards to surveillance and AI, and I would like to see what the transparency. I'd like to see what the transparency is for the AI data for the police department with all of the new technology. I'd like to see how that is going to be implemented in this town. Data security. Can you hear me? I'm looking to find out about the data security of AI for the new technology for the police department. I want to see about the oversight and the approval process. Would you be able to make that public?
George, it's actually not a question and answer, but if you leave your information, we can get it back to you.
I can definitely do that.
Thank you.
That would be great. Thank you very much for your work. And while it's not a question and answer, I would definitely ask everyone to take a look at Hands Off. It's a protest that's going to be this Saturday at New Haven Green. And I think the entire body needs to prepare and look at the budget. I implore you, when you look at the budget, to predict the current administration's vindictiveness and to take that into consideration.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, it's not about the budget.
I appreciate your time.
Madam Chair.
Thank you all.
Before we conclude our public hearing, would anyone else from the public like to comment? For a second time, would anyone from the public like to comment regarding the budget? Absolutely. Name and address, please.
Jessica Bankston, 197 Prospect Avenue. I have been able to take a couple moments to look over the budget. I've only recently moved to West Haven the last 8 years. I've been trying to get really active in my community, learn about how this works. I'm so impressed by seeing all the functions of our government kind of working in the way that you think it should be, and you don't really get to see in real time. So being here tonight and being able to hear the different opinions on things that people either believe in strongly or they disagree with, I'm really excited to see this due process work in real time with all of you people. It's really exciting for me, and I've been was thinking about moving out of West Haven, and this really makes me want to be here to raise a child here, to see the Department of Education and all the great people who do their part is really exciting. And I think the budget is really incredibly modest considering I've heard a lot about salary increases and thinking that they're not modest. I run a business. I've run a business for 10 years. It is really common these days to give out increases that are 5%, 6%, 8%, 10%. The cost of living has increased drastically. So I think although it's easy, yes, a lot of people don't get that, and a lot of people do. The jump, I run a business and had paid hourly staff, within the last 5 years, paying people $13, $14 an hour, now paying them $25, $27 an hour. So I think when you kind of apply for-profit business into the government, it does make sense to have that kind of increase if you want to get talent and get people into positions. So I think it's modest. I think it's appropriate. I think the budget, for all we've seen the mayor do, and when we look around, I think it's really exciting and it's really fair. And I thank you guys for your time and for all that you do. Thank you.
Richard Standish, 78 Atwater Street. I'm going to make a comment. I like to thank the mayor, who's not only, she's also a friend, but thank you, Mayor, for all the work you've done in West Haven, because West Haven has turned itself around. And so I fully support the budget, and I'd like to thank that gentleman from Washington Avenue. As a matter of fact, he lives right around the corner from me. We do have the best police and fire department in the state, as far as I'm concerned. And I would personally like to thank the police department and the fire department, which I used to be involved in, recently retired this past July. And I am proud to say to work with those gentlemen. And now retired, they have to come to my house. Hopefully they'll come fast. But again, to my friends, there's several friends on this council, Nick and Gary, Mrs. Heffernan, I appreciate all the work you do. Oh, Chris, I'm sorry. But I'll be around, and anybody looking for somebody for a part-time job, I'm available. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public for a third and final time? Seeing there are none, Stacy, would you mind reading the letters that we have tonight, please?
Sure. Our first letter that we received via email is from Catherine Blakesley, 88 Putney Drive, West Haven. To West Haven City Council, I am writing to speak against this proposed budget. First, let me state for the record that it is unusual to have a budget presented this way, where you can only go back 1 year. Past budgets used to have multiple years, so the public has a historical marker. Why not this one? It is because the executive assistant chief of staff salary was in the $65,000 to $68,000 range from 2022 to 2024 until it shot up to $113,786 in fiscal year 2025, or the Commissioner of Public Works, who was in the $99,000 range in 2022-2024 until the fiscal year 2025, when it went up to $120,000. Now it being proposed for $140,000, or was it the mayor's salary that was $87,522 in 2022 and 2023 until the fiscal year 2024, where it went up to $100,828, and now it's proposed for the $116,230. Was it the format of expenses being moved around, designed to confuse the public in a time when the homeowners are looking at a very large tax increase? I feel it is wrong. It is a wrong time to propose any raises that the city is not contractually obligated to give. The residents are going to struggle to find a way to pay their taxes. It is my opinion and belief that it will not just be the residents struggling, but it will also be the businesses, nonprofits, the food pantries, the soup kitchens, and any local fundraising for charities. The groups of people that concern me are the senior citizens and the veterans. Senior citizens and veterans often live on fixed incomes and tight budgets. Some are barely getting by as it is. I do think, as we may see, some have their homes foreclosed on with this increase. A lot of people buy homes based off of what they can afford, and now they may not be able to afford their mortgages. It may go down a little if the fire mill rate goes down. Did anyone fight for West Haven against the early revaluation? Not all cities and towns in Connecticut were forced to do a revaluation. Did the city council, anyone in the administration, or MARB do anything to attempt to get us pushed off the list? The market is at an all-time high, and we can anticipate that it will come down. I understand that our properties have increased due to the revaluation. Our homeowners' insurance will now also increase. The responsible thing to do is to really cut spending on anything that is not an absolute necessity. I feel as though middle class and lower income are going to be getting pushed out of the town with these increases. We currently have the Kelsey and the Reba coming to West Haven, but other than that, what would entice people to come here? We have a beautiful beach, but that can only get used for a few months out of the year. Aside from our residents, we have a lot of out-of-towners visiting our beach. Why not increase the parking fees and annual passes? What businesses do we have to draw people to our city? We've got the awful eyesore where the havens were supposed to go. We recently sold off a large property to UNH who does not pay taxes. Instead of selling the property to UNH, has anyone considered a solar farm? Just think of how that would help the residents and the city overall. With the areas down on the beach, we now have condos and a restaurant coming. Has anyone ever considered seeing if we can draw some of the businesses that are on Long Wharf away and having them come to our city? Those two buildings on Long Wharf are loaded with big companies. I am not an economic developer. I am just a resident hoping to see something come here to bring in tax money and lighten the burden on the residents. With such a large tax increase, is it possible to have it phased in instead of all at once it increased? I would estimate about 70% of the homeowners will still have to adjust their budgets accordingly to prepare for their tax payments. I think it is only right that the city tighten their belt as well. Tightening their belt would be cutting spending that is not necessary and taking a pass on non-contractual raises. I also can't urge you enough to look over this budget again and find ways to cut that mill rate a little more. If raises are absolutely necessary, then for those who have a proposed raise on this budget, I think a discussion should take place regarding not proposing anything more than what was given contractually to the other employees, which I believe was around 2.5%. There are some line items where a raise wasn't even requested by the departments, but was requested by the mayor. Another suggestion to save funds and reduce liabilities to limit who has vehicles that get taken home and used when not performing city duties. If they are not performing city work, then why would they be allowed to take the vehicles home? Why not leave the vehicles in the lot and retrieve your vehicle when you report to work? I assume all who take the vehicles home have that reflected on their W-2s. If not, what will the city do if they were audited? These vehicles and their upkeep come out of our taxes. These don't belong to the city employees, yet they get treated as their personal vehicles. I thank you for your time, and I hope you listen to the concerned citizens and find cuts in this budget. It is simply the wrong time to recommend some of these raises that are in the budget. I am not sure about everyone's place of employment, but I can tell you that I certainly didn't get a raise like some of the ones in this budget. And again, I ask you to do the right thing and not support this budget. I would recommend in the future you provide more than just 1 year to compare to. Then we have another one that was emailed. First, I want to express appreciation for the steps this administration has taken towards responsible and competent leadership. Please don't forget that. But I also want to ask you to consider that long-term reduction in taxes require changing how we do things. In other words, no matter how many experts we hire, if they continue to do things the same way they've always been done in West Haven, lower taxes are unlikely to result. As many of you know, the council voted to participate in the Sustainable Connecticut initiative 6 years ago in 2018. West Haven did receive bronze certification that same year. However, the effort was abandoned without any notice to the sustainability team in 2020 as COVID descended. I mention this because the Sustainable CT initiative includes many recommendations for doing things differently that directly impact costs and efficiency over long term, which is what sustainability is all about. Let me give you one example. We have had the ability to benchmark and track the energy use of every city building for free since I and other residents took training in the portfolio manager system in 2018. That's 6 years during which our energy consumption at City Hall, for instance, has increased 35%, and costs along with it, in spite of offsets from solar panels. Our Energy Star rating has dropped from 51, which is mediocre, to 37, which is awful. This failure translates to hundreds of thousands of dollars wasted over the past 6 years. I presented all this information to the current Energy Commission a year ago and shared everything I had on Portfolio Manager, including contact info, with the mayor in April of last year. The chair of the Energy Commission had asked for a login information, and I told him I didn't feel comfortable sharing without the mayor's approval. I subsequently followed up with her assistant twice, but never heard back. Yesterday, I read the Energy Commission's minutes, which stated that they are seeking access to Portfolio Manager, and the mayor's assistant would be checking with IT to see if it could be facilitated. How is it possible for a known person with legitimate credentials and the ability to grant access be ignored and then forgotten? Instead, another year goes by and there is more delay, confusion, and squandering of energy. The same sort of lack of systemic attention applies to adopting or approving the comprehensive energy plan. But no one apparently has responsibility for following up on these things, and no one is accountable. This way of doing things causes chronic hemorrhaging of money that could be used to minimize residents' taxes. Without accountability to objective goals and standards, residents will continue to subsidize a lack of accountability to objective standards, and that is not a sustainable model for any city. Thank you. And that is sent by Robin Parsons. And then our final letter is from Brent Kasha. Dear members of the West Haven City Council, as a longtime resident, property owner, and taxpayer in West Haven, I want to take this opportunity to share my thoughts regarding the mayor's proposed 2025-2026 budget. While no budget is ever perfect, it is clear that this year's budget demonstrates a measured and responsible approach to balancing our city's needs while controlling costs. The reality is that operating costs will rise, often due to factors beyond the city's control. Given this, the fact that the budget increase is limited to just 2.6% is commendable. The mayor and her administration deserve recognition for their diligence in keeping costs from spiraling out of control while continuing to provide essential services. A significant challenge for West Haven, as a predominantly residential city with a limited commercial tax base, is the distribution of these costs. This challenge is further complicated by the state-mandated property revaluation every 5 years. This latest revaluation came at a time of unprecedented property value increases, driven largely by the post-pandemic influx of residents from New York. While this has undeniably benefited our city, it has also led to financial challenges for homeowners navigating higher assessments and consequently higher property taxes. It is encouraging to see the mayor's proactive approach in promoting West Haven and working to attract commercial enterprises to help offset the tax burden on homeowners. However, these efforts take time to yield tangible results, and patience is required as new businesses establish themselves and contribute to our tax base. Another noteworthy achievement is the mayor's success in recovering stolen pandemic relief funds, an issue that many had considered a lost cause. This recovery represents a significant financial win for West Haven and reflects the administration's commitment to fiscal responsibility. Lastly, we remain mindful that our city remains under the oversight of the Municipal Accountability Review Board, the MARB. Any unrealistic or unsustainable budget would only invite further scrutiny and potentially jeopardize the progress we have made in stabilizing our financial standing. This fiscal discipline exercised by the mayor's administration has helped improve our credit rating, and it is imperative that we continue on this responsible path. In conclusion, while budget discussions are never easy, I appreciate the efforts made to keep spending in check while addressing the realities of running our city. Thank you for your time and dedication to serving our community. I trust that you will continue to work toward a fair and balanced budget that ensures West Haven's financial stability and prosperity.
Thank you so much, Stacy. So that concludes our public hearing. Chairman, at 8:52 p.m.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the mayor and superintendent for their presentations, and to everyone who spoke and sent in letters this evening. And I just want to give everyone a rundown of the council's next steps. On Tuesday, April 8th, the Finance Committee / Council as a whole will start the first of about 12 days of meetings for our budget deliberations. We will ask questions of all the department heads from about 25 different departments. We will do exactly what we did with last year's budget and go line by line, asking for justifications and looking for savings. We will work with the finance department and the mayor's office, as well as any other department head that can help us navigate through the ever-fluctuating state and federal fund changes. As a reminder, the charter outlines a 2/3 vote to make changes to the budget, which means 9 of us. And this all needs to be done and voted on by the council on or before the first Thursday in May. Please know, as taxpayers ourselves, we do take this job very seriously. This is one of the hardest things you have to do as a council person, and we all know that. But I guarantee you, we will work towards a consensus to make fiscally responsible reductions. I cannot guarantee you that we'll make everyone happy, but that's often the case in politics as well as life in general. We appreciate your passion tonight, however, and if you have any suggestions, anything that you want to let the council know, please find us on the City of West Haven website. All our information is there. Thank you very much for everybody coming tonight, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.